New tonight, President Trump refusing to let go of his feud with LeVar Ball, the father of one of the UCLA basketball players freed from China after being arrested for shoplifting. The president tweeting today, it wasn't the White House, it wasn't the State Department, it wasn't Father LeVar's so-called people on the ground in China that got his son out of a long-term prison sentence. It was me. Too bad. LeVar is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair. Just think, LeVar, you could have spent the next 5 to 10 years during Thanksgiving with your son in China, but no NBA contract to support you. But remember, LeVar, shoplifting is not a little thing. It's a really big deal, especially in China. Ungrateful fool. Now, this Twitter rant comes after Ball on CNN showed a lack of appreciation for the president's role in his son's release.
If he said he helped, that's good for his mind. I mean, but why I even got to say that? If you help, you shouldn't have to say anything. If you help, you shouldn't have to name. If I help somebody, I don't walk around saying, you know, I help you now. I would say thank you if he would have put him on his plane and took him home. If I was going to thank somebody, I'd probably thank President Xi.
All right, our Jeff Zeleny is out front. And Jeff, the president chose to engage in this fight on Twitter early this morning, 5:30 in the morning, 2.5 hours before he took to Twitter to address the Navy plane crash in which 3 Americans are still missing. Why?
Poppy, he did. It was actually about 90 minutes before sunrise here when that first tweet came out about 5:25 against LeVar Ball, going after that. And of course, those 3 words there in all caps, I think, spoke volumes. It was me. The president trying to seek credit for this, of course. But it's also, Poppy, we've seen a pattern of this throughout, most of the last year. The president is also trying to change the subject, trying to produce a distraction, try and set the tone of the day. One thing he did not talk about at all today was Roy Moore, the Alabama Senate race, which of course was in the news. The president wanted to revive those old grievances and drive the conversation. But it was a bit odd for him to be tweeting like this when there was a national security event happening. It's not every morning that there is a plane crash that happens in Okinawa in the Pacific Ocean while the president is waking up. So that was a bit odd, but he was briefed on it around 8 o'clock or so this morning, we were told, and then he tweeted about that shortly afterward. But Poppy, what I'm struck by here is the president wants to be in the conversation. Other presidents, President Bush I covered, President Obama I covered, they enjoyed being on vacation. The White House went to great lengths today to say the president was not on vacation. He did spend 5 hours at his golf course here, which is fine. No one would ever blame a president for doing that. But the White House would not even say he was playing golf. But all we know he did today, Poppy, is send out a lot of tweets.
Indeed.
Poppy.
Jeff Zeleny, thank you very much. Out front tonight, Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson Show, and former White House aide under the Clinton administration, Keith Boykin. Nice to have you both here. And Ben, just why? Why tweet about this again? 5:25 in the morning. I'm walking into work and this is what I'm reading, and then it's not till 8 a.m. that he tweets about the Navy plane crash with these Americans on it. I don't understand. Help me.
Well, one, he wasn't briefed at 5 a.m. about the Navy, as you just heard Jeff say. He was
okay, but he reads the news. We all do.
About that.
We all do.
He was briefed about it at 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it's appropriate for the president to wait until he's briefed to find out what actually went on with this plane crash.
Okay.
The other thing is I don't know why people are so surprised. This is what Donald Trump is going to do with his Twitter. Whether you like it or not, he's going to be blunt. He's going to fight back. They've said that from the White House. I don't know why anyone is surprised that the president decides to tweet about things like this. Is it my style? No, I wouldn't do it this way. Clearly, the president believes that this is what he should be doing. He did it through the entire campaign. But I think to imply that somehow he tweeted about this before the plane crash, that somehow he wasn't prioritizing when he was briefed at 8 o'clock and then tweeted about that plane crash at 8:30, I think that's a little bit unfair.
So Keith, part of the president's tweet, let me read it. Quote, too bad, LeVar is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair. There have been many who have asked, especially over the last few days with this debate, specifically, is there race at play? How do you see it?
Yes, there is race at play. It's clearly a part of a pattern the president has been engaged in for quite some time. When he started his campaign attacking Mexicans, he started his political ascendancy attacking Muslims. He started his political White House, if you will, with this whole sort of attack on Barack Obama for 5.5 years, questioning his birth certificate. Not the White House, but his involvement in politics, I should say. But, this is a part of what he's doing right now with the Haitians. He's going after the Haitians. He's going after LeVar Ball. He's going after Marshawn Lynch. He's going after Colin Kaepernick. He's going after Frederica Wilson. He's repeatedly attacking prominent African-American figures in order to distract attention from the other things he should be working about. He's not focused on, as you mentioned before, Poppy, he woke up at 5:30 in the morning. He wasn't talking about the U.S. Navy aircraft in the Pacific. He wasn't talking about the Sergeant LaDavid Johnson's body remains, which were discovered. He wasn't talking about Sergeant LaDavid Johnson's remains, which were discovered in Niger. He was not talking about the 50% of Puerto Ricans who don't have electricity. He's not talking about North Korea and nuclear missiles. He's not talking about the fact that he just endorsed a child molester, essentially, an accused child molester for the United States Senate. What he wants to talk about is racially divisive issues, and that's troubling from the President of the United States.
Let me get Ben. Ben.
Okay, let's just say I accept the premise for a moment that this is racially motivated. If the president's tweet was somehow racially motivated, then explain to me, Keith, why the president would use political capital while meeting on very serious issues with the president of China to then have influence on that leader to get 3 African-American basketball players out of prison from probably what would have been 5 to 10 years. You can't say that the guy is being racist at one moment when he actually was sitting down with the president of a foreign country and getting 3 African-American basketball players, if you're claiming it's about race, out of a country and keeping them out of jail. That's not racism, sir, as much as you want it to be about race.
Fair point, Keith.
Yes, it is a fair point. I was the first person, one of the first people to congratulate or compliment the president when he announced that the 3 basketball players were coming home and he had done something to help them. I'm not completely sure that he did, for the same reason that I guess LeVar Ball isn't. Now let me finish this. I'm not sure that he actually did contribute to this at all, but he says he did. In the same way he says he had the largest inauguration in history, which we know is not true. He always is claiming credit for things that we don't know about. I don't know why the president was motivated to be engaged in this, but I do know that. I do know that. I don't know why he was motivated. I do know. I am not making facts. I don't know why he was motivated to be engaged, but I do know that the president has a history of racism. I do know he's willing to believe Vladimir Putin and Roy Moore before he's willing to believe 5 U.S. Americans.
We're tight on time. We're tight on time. Ben, final response to that.
The race card gets old when you play it all the time, while the president, and it's been confirmed, did get involved, did talk to the president of that country. And the fact is he helped 3 African-American basketball players keep out of prison for what would have been 5 to 10 years. If that's what racism looks like, you can call me or anybody else that does something like that a racist every day of the week, because that's not racism, sir. That's the president doing his job, and you should actually call it that.
Gentlemen.
Doing one good thing does not negate everything else that he did.
Thank you very much. It's an important debate, and it will continue.